Just in, CNN has learned that about 1,000 additional Customs and Border Protection agents are set to deploy to Minneapolis. That is according to two federal law enforcement sources. An ICE agent there shot and killed Renee Good just last week. Let's get to CNN's Whitney Wild for the very latest on all this. In this additional deployment, Whitney, what are you learning?
Guys, thank you so much for joining me, John Soto. This is Soto Cast. We're going to look at what CNN is talking about, the additional deployments to Minneapolis, see what they have to say, and just like always, we'll interject in the middle of it and give you our points.
Well, this is a massive increase, John, because this was already the largest immigration action to date with 2,000 agents spread throughout the Twin Cities. Now we know that it's going to be a 50% increase, 3,000 agents spread throughout that area. This is according to two sources. According to CNN's Priscilla Alvarez, Customs and Border Protection Commander Gregory Bovino had already been on the ground. He is going to be part of this operation. He is a well-known figure. He led operations in Chicago, New Orleans, and Charlotte. One of the sources telling Priscilla that he is going to be conducting targeted operations, which include door knocks. And in those situations, the documents that are provided to those targets will include administrative warrants, which are signed by an immigration officer but do not carry the same legal weight as a judicial warrant, or they will be copies of final orders of removal. John, as you mentioned, this all comes on the heels of an ICE officer shooting and killing Renee Nicole Good. Leaders in Minneapolis and leaders at the White House have two completely different ideas about what happened. The White House continuing to defend that officer, saying that he feared for his life, that she attempted or did run him over, saying that this was an act of domestic terrorism. Kristi Noem doubled down on those comments in an interview with Jake Tapper on Sunday. Minneapolis leaders say that could not be further from the truth. She posed no risk to that officer, that this was a completely unjustified shooting, and they are calling for more local involvement in a federal investigation, which at this point is being led exclusively by the FBI and the U.S. Attorney's Office in Minneapolis. New over the weekend, John, Democratic lawmakers attempted to enter an ICE facility. They were inside briefly before being escorted out. On Thursday of last week, DHS Secretary Kristi Noem had changed the policy about allowing unannounced visits by lawmakers, saying that they need at least a week's notice. And John, the reason for that, she said, was that it's too difficult to move around the staffing that is required for an unannounced visit. Basically saying when you have these lawmakers who just show up, that means that they have to take agents off of other important tasks and instead escort them inside these buildings. So now saying no more unannounced visits. Instead, they want at least a week's notice, John.
All right, so just some of the new developments there. Whitney, we know you're keeping your eye.
And that seems, I mean, that's pretty fair. I mean, maybe she could have said 48 hours, but you need some time because everyone's just doing this as a clickbait, opportunity to just as like a political campaign kind of thing. And, I mean, what are we going to do? We're just going to, at every single ICE facility, a random person that house person is just going to show up there and they need a tour. That's unreasonable. I mean, if it was like a state, something that have to do, or like a federal monitor, stuff like that, that obviously somebody has to be able to be going unannounced. But who the hell are these people? Like, get out of here with that shit. They don't even know what they're looking at. They have no idea what they're looking at. So two things here quickly. One, I believe that this is absolutely by design, and I think that I'm a little bit nervous that the MAGA right wing is kind of falling into this trap where if these local jurisdictions would just cooperate with ICE and they would just turn over the bad guys when they got into custody, or I mean, all these guys have to do is say, listen, here are guys that we've arrested for XYZ. Here's the next court date, or they're in our custody. Come pick them up. They don't want to do that. They don't want to do that, causing ICE to go inside and to look for these guys, causing other people that probably aren't violent to get wrapped up in the mix and taken out. It seems like that the left has their perfect scenario with this, because they're getting to keep a lot of legal that they want to have around, and secondarily they get the, like what happened to Ms. Good, like what's happening, the protests, the outrage, the masked up guys going in there and grabbing people. They're getting that fodder for the news. So I'm very torn. I'm very torn where obviously I want these people to get out, to be taken out of the country, especially anyone that's committed any other crime other than crossing over the border. Listen, you crossed over the border illegally. You have to know that if you get caught, you're gonna get taken out. You're gonna get deported. That's part of the thing. That's part of the contract that you knew coming into this. So, if you were here your entire time and you were paying your taxes and stuff like that, that kind of sucks, but it is what it is. People make decisions. They make decisions to better their lives. Maybe they did everything else right after that, but those are the breaks. If there's something that can get worked out, then fine. If not, that's just, those are the rules that we have. And until the rules are different, those are the rules that we have. But it's like I said, it just seems like this is being created. And, hopefully, getting back to my point previously. So I really just wonder if we shouldn't just leave these cities alone. And because we could probably get a massive amount of illegals out just with the cooperating jurisdictions, and just leave these cities to their own devices, and then do other type of enforcement. Like, for example, with all the fraud going on there right now, you could absolutely, there should be like a double-edged thing going on here, right? It should be investigate the fraud, have FBI do whatever they have to do. You could probably lock up a lot of people with fraud. You could probably get a lot of people that ICE can also take into custody with the fraud. There has to be a multi-layered approach to this, just as far as optics is concerned. Listen, the rules are the rules, so I don't really care one way or another. Like, if they go in there and they screw a bunch of guys at Home Depot, it is what it is. The rules are the rules. However, in terms of optics, in terms of trying to at least get that center and that center coalition that you kind of need to win midterms, to not like totally turn them off. The operations have to look in a way like it was good. They released like all the people that they locked up, like crazy crimes that these guys were involved in, and they've just many of them have been sitting there. Some of them have been sitting there for 20 years, like with deportation orders ready to go, and they never got removed from the country. It's just crazy. So those things are good, but that doesn't break through. That doesn't cut through. That comes through to me because I'm in the mix and I'm looking at all this stuff and I'm consuming all this stuff all the time. But the average person out in the street, they don't know that these guys got locked up and they had deportation orders for 15, 20 years, 10 years. And they committed like really, really violent sexual assaults, assaults, robberies, like all of these. It's not just DWIs. DWI is bad enough. Like, if you come here illegally, you got to be on your P's and Q's. If you come here illegally, we shouldn't hear a peep out of you. And if we do, then you got to get out, no matter what. Whether it's DWI, I don't care if you get a parking. You shouldn't even be double parked. Everything you do in your life, you should have this thing over your head saying, any moment this can come for me, and you should be a complete model citizen, 100%. That's my view. I'm able to do it, so it's yeah. Let's see what else they got to say here.
Anna, thank you very, very much. Kate?
Let's talk about these new developments with someone who knows everything about them. Joining us right now is the former acting director of ICE, John Sandberg. It's great to see you again, John. So first, on the hundreds of more officers that are now being sent in to Minnesota to back up ICE agents while they continue operations, what do you think that will do to the situation?
Okay, I think it has a real risk of inflaming the situation. We really need to de-escalate things in Minneapolis right now. The state and locals have indicated they do not want this extensive presence, right, of immigration enforcement agents in the city. This doesn't mean, so I think what we'd like to see is we reduce the visibility of the deployment here. This doesn't mean we have to say we're abandoning immigration enforcement. I think some people have tried to characterize it as either you have these mass deployments where you have no immigration enforcement at all. We know that's not true. ICE has arrested millions of people since its inception without these images that we're seeing now. But by doubling down and redeploying, we are sending the opposite message that we do not care what the state and locals think. It's going to trigger more, and it's also just going to inflame the passions of these protesters. And Kate, very quickly,
we don't care what these state and local, like we don't. Why should ICE care? Why should they care? Right? I mean, the mayor told him to get the F out. Right? The governor's saying he doesn't want them. All of these, the local police chiefs and stuff like that are saying that what they did was wrong. So why would they care? Right now, you just gotta flood the zone at this point. They're gonna flood the zone. And again, I don't know if it's going to end up being a good thing because, if you're on the right side of the aisle, then obviously you want this to happen. You want these guys to get taken out. You want everything to be cleaned up. That's one way. The other side is you kind of have to play ball. Optics is very important. Optics is always important. Optics is essentially everything when it comes to the world of politics. And if you can't play that game, then you will lose that game. So I just wonder if, hopefully this thing can get wrapped up quick, flood the zone, get everybody they have to get, take them out, get out of there, go back to whatever moderate operations you had there, reduce the scale of the operation, and then you can get back to normal. And then again, this will fade away into the ether like everything else does.
What also concerns me is where we're getting these agents from. These are Border Patrol agents, primarily. That they're just not trained or experienced in doing operations in these urban environments. They're trained for the border itself. So the nature and the experience level of these officers themselves, that concerns me as well.
Well, it's really an interesting, important point. What do you think of the change in policy John was just talking about with Whitney Wild that the Homeland Security Secretary just put in place? No more unannounced visits. They cannot accommodate unannounced visits by lawmakers to ICE facilities. They now need a week's notice, saying that they just can't accommodate it. Does that make sense to you?
Okay, listen, it's disruptive when a member of Congress drops in on a facility. I appreciate and understand that. But I think what this goes back to a larger point, which is the administration, especially at DHS and within ICE, has really eliminated a lot of that accountability and oversight of the agency. They've diminished the funding of the, and basically effectively neutralized the internal detention ombudsman at ICE. They've eliminated or completely, cut back on the Civil Rights and Civil Liberties Office. And there's obviously been across the federal government restrictions on the inspectors generals. When you're at an agency like this, all of those means of oversight really do help ensure that you're trying to do, try to do things the right way. And so while unannounced congressional visits, and that is something that Congress themselves put into appropriations bills demanding that right, while they are frustrating, while they can be inconvenient, the point is that they are unannounced, that congressmen can drop in at any time and see exactly what is going on inside a detention facility and make determinations about whether or not, ICE is doing its absolute best to provide for the care and custody of the detainees. So I appreciate and understand the department's position. That said, I do think these kind of things are just helpful in keeping everybody, held accountable.
Yeah, it'd be helpful if it shouldn't be a political person. That's the issue. The issue is it's a political person dropping in with a political agenda and a political angle, going in there unannounced, disrupting what they're going on. I mean, who knows? They could be short-staffed that day. They could have had a major influx of prisoners that day, and then they decide to pop in with a bunch of people and protesters outside, causing mayhem. I can't see how that's safe. I can't see how that's safe. I can't see how that even can be allowed. And again, they are completely ignorant to what it is they're looking at. They're looking at a detention facility. They have no idea. They're not a law enforcement personnel. They're not somebody who's managed a prison facility or a jail facility. Like, they're just going to go in there and look around and say, yeah, this looks terrible. Like, who cares? Who cares what you think? Who cares what a congressional person thinks when they walk into a detention facility? I sure as hell don't. But yeah, guys, if you're still here, thank you so much. A lot of new subscribers. It's been pretty great. Please hit the subscribe button if you can. If you are subscribed and you want to share, like, comment, hit the notification bell, all that good stuff, I really appreciate it. If you want to follow me on X, 6283 Talk on the X, I'm John Soto. See you in the next video, guys. Take care. Thanks a lot for coming out.